Shut up and sit down.
Hello folks, Colin here, Festas 67's workshop, and welcome to bike 3 of the trio of Rossi bikes. And this is the Tamiya Ducati 1199 Panigale. So we'll do a quick inbox. That's your instructions that come with the kit. Really concise instructions as usual. You get your tyres and your clear parts. You also then get your fairings, exhaust, etc. on that sprue. Next up, you've then got your engine casings, brake discs, and various bits and bobs. You then got your frame and your wheels. And let's start getting this built, folks. So the engine is going to go together really quickly. Same with the exhaust there. Literally, just glue them all together. De-seam anything you need. And then when it comes to the fenders, I tend to use white cap glue, both sides, and then squish it together, using the kit's plastic as a filler. Same with the tank there. Do the same there. And then we can come back and sand them later on. This is the swing arm going together, single-sided swing arm there. And again, any seams we can lose just by giving this a squeeze and letting the glue fill any voids. There shouldn't be many, but you never know. This is the little frame there. It looks like a magnesium frame. 2 halves there that went together. And the same with the seat support. Glue them together and give them a squish. So a bit of white cap along the edges. And then we'll just press fit them together to ease and squeeze to get plastic out. You can always go over it with a bit of extra thing because that's a welding glue, and that will just kickstart the process for you. So don't be shy to put a bit of pressure on, and then using the green cap extra thin, give it a squish. We're going in with some pink primer now for all the tins, body panels, fairings, etc. And that is a lacquer paint I'm using. It's Zero Pink Primer. Again, all the little rear cowlings, all of that lot, all get a couple of coats of primer. And I'm going pink because I've got yellow going down, okay? Give that a nice even coat. Remember all your nooks and crannies, any bits that are recessed. Try and capture them. Same with the fairing. There's lots of different indentations there, so make sure you're getting all them concealed areas. And then we're using Zero Grazie Valet Yellow, and it really is bright, folks. I'm doing a test fit here on the radiator duct just to make sure that it's doing the colour how I want it, and then we can shoot the yellow. It's going to have 3 or 4 coats of this, so I'll show you the first coat and then the rest of them I'll do off camera. We'll just mist that over like so. And then just work our way around all the different components. We can then come back, check everything, and apply our second coat. Just work our way through these, okay? Nice, smooth strokes. About 18 psi on the airbrush. And I'm just ghosting it over. Doing undersides as well. All the insides of the panel, just so that where you look through them gaps you can see that it's body colour. Same with the tank. Crisscross over the tank like so. And what I shall do is let that dry and then come back and shoot the next couple of coats. Nice and easy. Remember to wear your respirator as well, folks, because do need a good quality respirator because the fumes are pretty potent, so just bear that in mind. Going over the fairings there, just making sure I'm capturing all the little voids. Quick fill up of the airbrush cup there, and then we can come around and do the rest of it. And this is a semi-gloss, so if you want to go for a big shine, you'll want to 2K it. I'm going for Luca Marini's decal scheme. These are aftermarket decals. So we'll start putting them on. nice simple decal application. They really are good quality decals. And then I'll just use my toothpick, line them up, and then roll the cotton bud across just to lay them down. Same with the Michelins. Now they can be a bit fiddly, these, because obviously you've got a double curve on the inside there, so you let your decal solutions do the job for you. Same with the fairing there, just roll it with a cotton bud, and then once you've got the decal placed, you can then go over with your satin sole. Then remember, if you need to go over it again, you can always go over it again. Not many decals for the tank, just the obligatory Ducati logo on the side there. Marry it up the other side, and I just spin the tank just to make sure that I'm lined up with the other side, which I am. And then I just use my knife just to move it. I'm not pressing hard, I'm just using it to float the decal. And then I roll it with a cotton bud, just to get any trapped air, any moisture out from underneath. And then I'll clip that and let it do its job. These 46s for the rear there, for the cowlings again. We'll go over them with some microsole once I've got the decals laid, just so that it kick-starts and lets them conform to the shape. Just quickly make sure they match. And then we can start putting on the tank decal at the top there, which is just the standard Sky logo, the sponsor. And then we got the Grazi Valet going down. So I've got black on the bottom part of the fairing there as part of the two-tone colour scheme. So I'm just going to manipulate these in place, using your photos as a reference on the instructions. And then once I've got these down, I'll then do the other side, and then I'll compare both sides just so that they're lining up. Check and double check. I tend to use a sanding stick as an alignment tool, just to make sure that my logos are lining up. Just roll out any air with your cotton bud. Again, compound curve there, you can see by my left thumb. Goes round towards where the front forks come out, so you will need to just roll that along to conform it into all the undulations. So we can hold that up, probably go up a fracker. But we'll quickly put these on, and then I'll check my alignment again. So I'll just move that into place. Luckily, the decals are cut very close to the fairing edge there, so this first part, once you get that lined up, you can then put this other little section in, and you should then be able to line the letters to the top edge of the Z, the I and the E. So just float them in with your knife and check by eye that it's lining up, because it can very easily move out of alignment. So just rest that knife on that edge there, just give it a nudge, and that's beginning to line up now. So I can roll that with the cotton bud. I'm happy with that side, and then I can use that to compare against the other side, just to make sure that they're symmetrical and that the lettering lines up. So I just re-moisten that one, because I want to just raise that about 2 mil. Just looks a little bit out to me, so I'm just going to give it a nudge and see where I can release it and just float that up a little bit better. Like I say, it hasn't had a clear coat on top or any microsole, so I can quickly float this back to where I'm happy. Just line that up, and I'm beginning to get that where I want it. So just moisten that edge and re-tuck that in. This is why I'm called the decal whisperer, folks, because I can manipulate them and save them. So just refloat that down, because I'm moving this decal down just a tad. just so that I can get me alignment a little bit better. Just check that against the other side. Yeah, I can live with that. I can roll the air out of this now, any excess moisture, and then we can put the other decals on that go along the top of the fair end there. And then we can start thinking about all the other sponsorship decals. So that's the Ducati 1199 Panigale going across the top edge there. Use the fair end angles as a guideline. And then you've got all your sponsorship decals going on for all your different brands that are carried in the MotoGP. This is based on Luca Marini's MotoGP bike that he rode. And yeah, it was the retirement race of Valentino, his stepbrother. So yeah, it carried all of the different brands for that particular team, which was the Sky VR 46 team, for those that are interested. And I'm just using both sides of the fairings on the mat there, just so that I can compare that I'm lining these up correctly. It is a bit of a fiddle, but you will get it. I just go from side to side, manipulating the decals where I want them to go. And because you've got 3 or 4 different brands going there, I'll just re-moisten some so I can move them across a little bit. Then recheck my alignment. Then we can start working our way now along the front edge. Obviously the halves of the fairing are different because you've got some exhaust cutouts and things like that to account for. But this is where your instructions come in handy because you've got really concise pictures with these aftermarket decals so you can get your placement correct. We just moisten them, get them into place. And I've got quite a production line of decals going, as you can see. I'm prepping my next one whilst I'm doing these so that that can moisten and be ready to apply nice and quickly. So we can get all of these down probably in the one session. Again, the surface is quite moist, so these are floating quite nicely. And once I'm happy, I can then go over and get any excess moisture off with my Q-tip. But coming close to the end now, or getting these on these fairing halves. Only a couple of brands left. And then we can position this one now a little bit better than it was. And that should just leave me now these bottom brand logos just to go in right under there. Just like that. And again, I'm using the contours of the fairing as a guide just to get the alignment where it needs to be. We can now go on and start building up the engine. Everything's dried now paint-wise, so we've got all our different coloured paints done. So we can get these all on, and then we can start looking at detail painting other parts as the engine comes together. You've got your side covers going on, and then the frame there, as you can see, just literally screws to the top of the heads on the frame on the engine. This is the difference in technology now, where the frames on the bikes have changed from twin spar steel to twin spar aluminium to now just box frames that are screwed directly to the engine casing. And the engine now acts as a frame of the bike. It is quite surprising how the technology's changed. We just screwed that in with a couple of screws. I've been around and pre-threaded all of the plastic components so the screws go in easier. That way any paint that is built up in any of these screw holes I can get rid of just by re-tapping them. We can now start weathering the exhausts. This is a Tamiya weathering set D that I'm using. And I'm going in with the brown copper colour, just going over the exhaust surface, just to knock it back from the titanium silver and give it just that little heated look, as if it's been through a heat cycle. You'll also notice I've been round with the Tamiya smoke and done my weld burns. We just start rubbing this into the exhaust, working our way around the surface. All the little nooks and crannies and contours will get a dab of this. And where this is a road bike, I want it to kind of look like it's been regularly used. So it won't be like a GP bike where it's got very light weathering. It's going to be quite deep where it's been repeatedly heated up. We're just using little makeup applicator pads there just to apply this. Got hundreds of them that I bought on Amazon. So, yeah, got a big pack of them. You do get through them. Just work our way around the exhaust. Just rub it in there. Don't be shy. Then we can start a bit of blue in there, just to get some of the parts that are close to the manifolds with a bit of blue. And again, if you put too much on, you can always take some of this off. And then do the same with the other manifold. And then make sure you go around the inside edges as well, where the exhaust comes up in front of the engine. Put plenty in there. I tend to go darker on the inside edge because it is tight against the engine. A little bit just round where that first corner starts. And then we can work our way round the other side and come back round to where the other manifold will be. Just where them exhausts join, I just want to put a little bit on there. And then we can start coming back down the other side now. Get this manifold a good larraping. Like so. Because there is a shield that goes over this as well to stop your backside getting burnt, basically. Because this exhaust wraps round right underneath where the rider sits. So there is an exhaust shield that goes on this for that reason. Otherwise, you'd have to ride standing up because, yeah, don't want to burn your bum. Now I can just come back now, knock off any excess that I don't want, and then use a brush just to fan it together, just a bit of blending, like so. And there you go. I'm happy with that for now. Bearing in mind there's a heat shield going on that's going to conceal most of it. And then we now need to just hook this into the engine, like so. And then we can start putting the rear caliper on, onto the swing arm there. On with the disc brake. We can start putting the radiator together. All the hoses can go on. Then we can start painting all the suspension cylinders there. This is a clear orange going over the titanium, just to give it that look. And then detail all the handlebar, all the fork caps. And then we can now pop this off and start looking at a bit more assembly, folks. So this is the exhaust silencers. Got me grabber of goodness there for the screws because they are really, really tiny. And I do have a habit of pinging them, folks. So many a day's been spent on the floor beating the carpet monster so that I can get my exhaust screws back. Let's quickly dry fit, make sure that I'm happy. There's two little pins there that marry up as well, so we'll make sure they line up when it all goes together. I'll put a dab of white cap on there, like so. and that'll hold that in place whilst I just twist that and then put the screw in. You've got a little mounting bracket there right underneath there, so just do your screw up and then do the same the other side there. And that puts them exhausts together almost like an oyster shell where they clamp together. And then put the front mounting screw in. And that'll pull them nice and tight at the front then. That's looking rather suave, I must admit. So just hook that back on my jig for the moment. Keeps it nice and safe. Now we can start putting on the radiator. Couple of pins there on the frame, it just clips on. And then a screw underneath there. And that's that done. Can now get the swing arm together so we can get the chain on. There's a cut in the chain there, just lets you hook it through the swing arm, like so. And that just sits on there. And then we can now put that on the bike. Make sure you get your sprocket pin engaged into the gearbox. And then you can screw this swing arm on. Single screw each side, like so. Swing arm's like a letter Y on this bike, single-sided. Gives you a nice exposed rear wheel. And you've got all your suspension, coil spring and foot brackets, foot peg brackets and the side stand. All as a single unit goes on the side there. And again, now we can just put the chain guards on. And that's the swing arm in place. And then just make sure my suspension's all together before I screw it. Like so. And then put the final screw in just underneath where the spring is. That's looking rather nice. I'm pleased with that. We've now got the other foot peg going on the other side there, the bracket onto the frame, or onto the engine, should I say. And then we can put the other screw in just there, right next to the exhaust pipe. We can go around and tighten that all up. A little bit of detail painting just underneath there. And if we start putting the brake hoses on. I've had a dab of extra thin on all the pegs. And then we can just use our tweezers just to pop that hose up inside there. There's a little tinsy wincy peg there that it goes on. And that will secure it in place. Just like that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Next up, you've got some decals going there just on the headstock. Just make sure it's lined up. Like I say, use a toothpick or a knife to line it up. The gearbox decals are going on there. Basically, it's the layout of the gears. We start putting the wheel rim decals on. And again, once these are down, I then go over them with a gloss, just so that these decals are firmly locked in before I put the tyres on. So just manipulate the decal, just to get it in the groove there, because there's a little rebate that goes around the wheel. And you want your decal to sit in there, so it's quite a tight fit, but it will go. And then obviously Satin Sole will be applied just to get the decal to conform. Take your time with it as well, folks, on this. Don't rush it. I tend to do one side of a wheel, come back the following day and then do the other side. That way I know they've all had time to dry. Because I do have a habit of picking up bits and the decals land on me. And yeah, you don't want to be doing that. We'll just go around now and start applying any decals to the swing arm that we need to be applied. Any sponsor logos, things like that. A lot easier to do at this stage, folks. And there's one there that's tucked right inside that edge of the swing arm there. Then you've got a couple on the exhaust silencers. And again, take your time. Line up everything. And then I just flip side to side just to make sure that they look symmetrical. And again, being a Tamiya kit, this really is a beautiful kit to put together. Just putting me little suspension decals on there, the Öhlins decals. Very, very tiny. So I do have my massive eyes of seeing this on, folks. Use my brush, toothpick there, just to pick at the decal, just to move it about. Till I'm happy where it's placed, and then I can go over with a cotton bud. These are the tyre decals going on. Now I've gloss coated an edge of the tyre just to give these decals something to go on to. And then once they're fully down, I'll re-gloss them to lock them in. And then I'll matte coat the whole edge of the tyre again, just to matte it right down, folks. For me, it just locks them decals in. Same this side, just ease it off the card, onto the tyre. And again, I'm just pressing it with a toothpick just to get it in the concave edge, like so. Just press it in with a toothpick there. And then we can go over with a brush just to get any bubbles out. And again, if you need to move it, use your toothpick, folks. I'm trying to do the decals at 12 o'clock and at 6 o'clock as near as I can. So if you need to move them about, now's the time to do it. And now I'm just pressing any moisture out of these. They'll then have some decal solution and be left alone. You start popping the forks together. Put the little caps on so that the fork legs go in the yokes. A little bit of white cap going on there. There's a little notch in there, so you can only put these on the one way, folks. And just put your cap in like so. Then I tend to put a screw through and tighten it up until that yoke has gone off and dried. I know I've got to take the wheel back off to put the mud guard on later, but it just helps this stay true whilst it's drying, folks. Like so. Right. A few hoses to go on there on the side of the engine to the radiator. And then we can start looking now at assembling the rear wheel of the bike going on there. Single screw. As you can see, it's an exposed wheel, being a single-sided swing arm there, folks. It does have a nice look to it, doesn't it? A single-sided swing arm. I like it. I always have done. And then we can now look at lining up the front end, popping that through, and dropping the handlebars on. Like so. Single screw right away down through the headstock. Little twist, happy days. So I'm just using my tweezers there just to pop that top hose on. Now we can look at putting the calipers on. There's two little pins that these are located on. And I just clip them over the brake disc and then they pop straight in. Like so. And then we've got a couple of little hoses that go up underneath, and then there'll be two hoses that come up from the calipers that will then join into a union on the mudguard and then go up and meet that. Just put the speedo decal on. Again, any bubbles, get out with your cotton bud. Decals on the paddock stand. That's the mudguard going in. Clicks in place quite nicely on this bike. We've now got the inner fairing sides going on that have all the ECUs in them. All the electricity lives in there, folks. Then you got the one that goes through the fairing cover to the frame. And the seat support can go on. That screws to the back edge of the engine there. And we can start putting the cowlings on each side. Like so. And the rear seat cushion if you're carrying a pillion. Tank's going on. This is where the bike's coming alive now, folks. And then obviously your fairing half is going on there for the top part of the fairing. And then your side fairing covers get screwed in place. So whilst we're closing this build up, remember, if you like what you've seen, subscribe to the channel, folks. It is free. You can also follow me on Patreon if you choose to do so. Massively appreciated. Or you can become a member of the channel. That will give you access to the Zoom 24/7 off-air hangouts. Also, we do the live streams, etc. All the details for them are in the description below. This bike was the third in the series with Graziano Rossi's, Valentino Rossi's and Luca Marini's bike. This gives you the beginning, middle and end of Rossi's career. Got the rear number plate and wing mirrors to do, and then we'll be wrapping this build up, folks. There's going to be some revealed pictures at the end showing you how the bike looked. We'll get them wing mirrors on and we'll let you see how this bike turned out. So, thank you so much for watching, and here's the finished build.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down.